Finding great wholesale deals in real estate means absolutely nothing if you don't have trustworthy buyers and a reliable way to fund your contracts. So how do we fix this? In this video, I'm going to reveal the exact blueprint that I would follow if I wanted to scale a wholesale operation to 5+ deals per month as quick as possible. And in my opinion, is the easiest way for your operation to not only hit that 5+ deals per month, but far exceed it. And keep in mind, guys, this is not going to be time consuming. It doesn't require an upfront investment, and it's super achievable no matter what your skill is in this area. So with that, let's get after it. We're going to take this wholesaler here. We'll call him Johnny, Wholesaler Johnny. Well, Johnny was locking up contracts left and right, but there was one problem. Contracts kept slipping through his fingers until he found a way to, one, effectively find buyers, and two, fund every contract without using his own cash. You see, Johnny here, he had finally cracked the code. He was gaining traction. He was locking up deals left and right. Buyers were lined up. Funding was no longer an issue for him. He was scaling his business, beginning to make some real money. But what if I told you Johnny almost gave up before he even got there? Right before everything clicked, he was just a couple deals away from walking away from the business. I mean, we all know business owners, I mean, myself included in this, where you get to a point one time or another where you debate, should I throw in the towel? But this is actually when Johnny realized something. He didn't have a wholesaling problem, guys. He had a systems problem. Wholesaling isn't just about finding deals, guys. It's about understanding the process fully from end to end, building the systems that make the deal seamless, and ensuring that once you get a deal under contract, that you can actually turn it into money in your pocket. So let's break down exactly what a wholesale deal looks like in general and kind of deep dive into it a little bit. At its core, I mean, wholesaling is pretty simple. Really, what you're going to do, you got obviously your wholesaler Johnny here, and wholesaler Johnny is going to find a motivated seller. So that motivated seller is going to be attached to some form of real estate. You're wholesaling real estate. So find the motivated seller, understand what their points are, and then two, you're going to negotiate, put that under contract, and you're going to take that contract. You are going to assign it to an end buyer for a profit. Now, a profit in wholesaling for real estate is an assignment fee. Now, obviously, we know that this is a little oversimplified, but really this is what wholesale is. Now, when you really get into it, there's 5 key steps that you need to know when you're getting into real estate. There's 5 major steps that happen. So you've got one, again, going back to finding the motivated sellers. So you need to understand, okay, find the sellers that either they're in some type of distressed situation where they need help getting out of the house. Again, there's so many lead sources to this. We'll get into that a little bit. Negotiating and contracting, finding what is the best structure to not only help that homeowner, but also have an attractive offer for the end buyer. That's something that somebody's going to want to buy. Then you have to find your end buyers. Then you have to make sure you have the appropriate funding to get the deal done. And then number 5, closing the deal and getting paid. Now, any successful wholesaler, they've mastered these 5. They found a way to master these 5 key items. So when it comes down to number 1, finding motivated sellers, really, that's pretty easy. I mean, that's super straightforward. Probably not going to go into that very much, but what I do on my end, so we pull our list from the program is called Deal Sauce. So that makes it super streamlined, super simple. But the reason why I bring that up is it's like an AI calculation on what like the level of distress. So it gives you an idea of, hey, this one might be a little higher up on the distress scale. So they might be a good one to reach out to. And now there's a lot of variables that go into that calculation, but they also have things like your pre-foreclosures. They've got nationwide MLS access, so you can go after expired listings. You can go after, again, they've got county records, so on and so forth. It is a really killer program. Again, I'm not going to dive into that because that part's easy. This is purely a volume game. And then negotiating and contracts, really, that's going to be on a deal by deal basis. That's going to be very different. We can't cover the full breadth of that in just this video alone. It's very case by case. but we can definitely get into more videos on that if you would like in the future. But with that, let's go back to our wholesaler Johnny here, guys. Now, you remember how he was contemplating throwing in the towel, let's say due to maybe being a little overwhelmed? The thing is, he finally cracked the code. Everything changed. Instead of chasing the deals, deals were actually chasing him. And guys, it's not about finding the right properties. It's about having the right buyers lined up, ready to take those deals when you have them under contract. So most new wholesalers, they find themselves stuck in this area where they focus so much on the acquisition side to where they get something under contract, they think automatically that buyers will automatically just appear. That is the wrong way to go about it. You do need to have buyers in your pipeline ready to go. So that's what we're going to talk about next, because guys, a strong buyers list is the difference between one, closing deals effortlessly versus scrambling at the last minute and potentially losing a deal. It's also the difference between getting top dollar on your assignment versus settling due to having to rush towards the end of the deal. So keep that in mind. So where do we find these buyers? Now, the top one for me, it's going to be your local RIAs or local real estate meetups. So real estate, these are real estate investor association. They're pretty much in every big city that you can imagine. They're everywhere. But if you don't have one of those close to you, there's always, there's real estate investor meetups everywhere. You can go to meetup.com. You can go to Facebook groups, see if there's a meetup there. You can go to like your local chamber of commerce, stuff like that. This is a common thing. Just reach out to a realtor. You'll be able to find, no doubt, you throw a rock, you'll be able to find a real estate meetup that is happening in your town somewhere that month. But this is a really good one to where, guess what? You need to go to the watering hole of where's your buyer going to be? Where are these investors? Where are these fix and flippers? They're trying to go to places where other investors are at and chatting with them. They're looking for you. They're looking for wholesalers at these events so they can get more deal flow coming into their pipeline for their business. So in person, by far, in my opinion, is probably the best one. Some people, maybe they've got a different idea, but I think in person is way better than anything else. Now, virtually, you can go Facebook route. Facebook route is also a very solid route. You've got all these different wholesaler groups. You've got real estate investor groups, multifamily groups, so on. The list just goes on and on and on. Again, it's going back to that same concept of go to the watering hole and where your client or your avatar is at. So that's a good one. Now, cold calling and text. Now you might be saying, what the heck do you mean cold calling and text? That's really a heavy thing that you're doing in the acquisition side of the business. But guess what? For finding buyers, this is also something that if you're looking at Deal Sauce, what you can do is they show like recent cash buyers. They show what you're active, like if cash buyers that have purchased within the last, say 30 to 60 days, what volume are they purchasing on a yearly, quarterly basis? So you can find that within Deal Sauce, within your area, and pull that list. And just like on the acquisition side, cold call them, text them, and see if you can get a hold of them. It's going to be a very similar process for finding those buyers that route as you do on the acquisition side of the wholesale business. So another good way to use Deal Sauce. We found that super effective. Like I said, awesome program. The other one, networking with wholesalers. Let's be honest, the acquisition side as well as the dispo side, they are completely separate animals. They are really businesses within themselves. So if you can go and focus on the acquisition side, maybe have some end buyers, but also network with wholesalers so maybe you find one they're really focused on dispo, they're really good at it and find qualified buyers, then just JV with them. That way you don't have to lose a deal. That's a really good option. Now, auctions, I've never really done this, but I know other investors that they go to auctions to pick up deals. So I know they're going. It's just something that I haven't done. So that's another source. You can go to auctions. Agents is a phenomenal source. Agents are usually, a large portion of their job is being well connected. The good ones are very well connected. And a lot of them, they're going to be dealing with cash buyers or fix and flippers. Because guess what? When you sell that wholesale deal to a fix and flipper, they're typically going to list it on the MLS with an agent. So it would make sense to find agents that have these fix and flippers or these end buyers that you're looking for, whichever lead source you're looking at, and network with them and understand and get to know them and have them, you could joint venture with them as well. So that's another good source. At the end of the day, the secret to building a buyer's list is finding buyers that actually buy. So the mistake a lot of wholesalers make is, one, maybe they're going through all of this, but they're just collecting names. They're not real buyers. So what you want to also do is you want to vet them, vet your buyers. You want to look into, okay, what is your buy box? What's the criteria? What are you actually looking for? What's the bed bath count? What's the purchase price? What percentage of ARV does it need to be at? Things of that nature. You need, I mean, if they're a solid investor, they're actively looking, hands down, they're going to know that right off the top of their head. They're going to go, I want 3-bed, 2-bath. It needs to be 70% ARV, so on and so forth, what have you. They will know their buy box, and that is a good way to know, okay, these buyers are serious. Now, in addition to that, deal history. Again, this is another thing. You can go into Deal Sauce. You can go into deal history, and if you can find that buyer and see, hey, have they purchased anything within the last 60 days, 30 days, so on, what have you? What's their volume look like? And guess what? If they haven't purchased anything in the last, say, 90 days, maybe they're not a buyer. Maybe they're just browsing. So maybe keep them in your back pocket, but might not be worth too much time on that. Then third thing, follow up. So once you've vetted them, you want to make sure that you're also following up with them on a consistent basis. You want to be sending them deals. You want to be top of mind in their inbox, their text messages, and you want to, not only that, but if they're looking at your deals and they keep saying, oh no, not interested in that one, or maybe they're just not responding at certain times, you should try to reach out to them and get feedback, because that's going to be super helpful for your acquisition side. Is like, hey, you've mentioned this one wasn't a good deal for you. Can you tell me why it wasn't a good deal? What would make it better? What would make it actually fit within your criteria? Because say, hey, we have this criteria for you. We thought this was a good one to send you. However, you said it wasn't good. So if you could give us a little more information on it, it's super impactful. It's going to help your acquisition side of the business. So good stuff to go there. Now, let's get back to Johnny. So at this point, Johnny, I mean, he's cracked the code. He's finding deals. He's built a solid buyers list. Deals are flowing. He has those buyers. Again, they're lined up. They're ready to take those properties off his hands. But then he hits another roadblock. So his buyers start asking for proof of funds. Some sellers are refusing to sign contracts unless he puts down a larger earnest money deposit, so EMD. And worst of all, some of the buyers right here, they are trying to go behind his back because they see how large his assignment fee is. And they're like, nope, not having any of that. So now Johnny is now at risk of losing a huge assignment fees because he doesn't have the ability to close on the deals himself. Now, that's when he discovers transactional lending. So this is his secret weapon. Now, you see, that's going to take care of this funding the deal side, and we're going to get into that a little further. You see, most wholesalers think that you don't need money to do deals, but that's just not the reality, guys. I'm sorry. So without access to funding, you're stuck making much weaker offers. You're struggling with sellers who won't take you seriously, and you're risking buyers. Again, you're risking buyers cutting you out of the deal. So that is where transactional funding fits in. So I guess what is transactional funding, you might be asking. So transactional funding is a short-term loan that it allows you to close on a deal using other people's money without having to use any of your own cash. Now, it gives you two major advantages, and we'll go over that. So one major advantage is, again, you're going to be making more serious offers. Now, by serious offers, what do you mean? So sellers are more likely to accept your offer when you can show them a proof of funds, or maybe you've got a strong earnest money deposit. So if, say, you're in a competitive space and they're getting hit up by others, if you have a larger EMD, that's going to be a benefit. And also, instead of offering 100, 500, what have you for an EMD, I understand there's situations where people, they're not putting EMD on a contract. I get it. But guys, if you want to be taken seriously and you want to give a solid offer to these people, you need to have a larger EMD down. Again, you can put down 5, 10K, which makes your contract look way stronger in comparison and with your competition. So that's super impactful. And then sellers are going to take these funded buyers way more seriously. You'll close more deals and face a lot less resistance. I can tell you that. So number 2 are double closings, guys. So we'll talk about a little more about double closings. Double closings. Now, really what this helps is, the thing is, like I mentioned, one of the biggest things in wholesaling is when a buyer sees your assignment. Again, your buyer sees your assignment that you're making on this contract, and then they try to cut you out of the deal because they're like, you mean I could have got it for this price, and your assignment, you're tacking on what, 50K? That's ridiculous. So how do you avoid that? I mean, you went through all the effort, you got the thing under contract. How do you avoid that situation? It's going to be with the double close. Now, I think a lot of you, maybe you're familiar with double closes, but if you're not, really how it works is you're going to have what's called, say, an A to B contract. So really right here, the seller is going to be the A contract, the A to B. So B is the wholesaler. So you're going to have this A to B contract. And this is really just like your typical contract. You got it under contract, it's an A to B. Now, what you're going to do, instead of doing this assignment to the buyer, you are going to create a separate contract, a separate purchase and sale agreement to this buyer. So what that's called is a B, for example, a B to C contract. So this is a whole other purchase and sale agreement. So what you're doing here is, ideally you're going to be at the same title company for each of these, but you're actually closing on the deal. You are actually purchasing this property. You're going to hold it in your name or your LLC's name, what have you, for say a 24-hour period or what have, until that other contract is completed, the escrow is completed on that. So you have your A to B contract, you close on that day of, that very same day. Again, you have to line this up to where your buyer's funding comes in that same day, and you close on this contract, again, ideally at the same title company. Now, it sounds complicated. It's actually relatively straightforward. You need help with it, let me know. More than happy to help you. But the thing is, guys, when you have this A to B, I mean, you are actually closing on this deal. So you're bringing that money to the table for the full entire purchase price. It's a lot different than just the EMD for this assignment contract over here. So that's where the transactional funding comes into play for this double closing, is the transactional lender will bring that full amount for the day of closing. So you don't have to take that out of pocket. That's a huge advantage, guys. So at the end of the day, guys, more double closings equals more profit. So here's how to make sure that your deals close smoothly and you walk away with your check in hand, guys. Number 1, you've got to be with an investor-friendly title company. So what I would do is make sure that you're talking to other local investors, see which one works for them. Like, which one have they found that is investor-friendly in your area? Now, I also use Creative Title and Escrow. They are a national company, and they are they're focused on investor-friendly products. So that's why there's the primary reason I use them. It's consistency across states. So that's another option. I'll put their link in the description. But again, reach out to your local investors and see, hey, what title companies have you used, and go from there. But it's important to have a solid title company that you are working with. And in addition to that, you're gonna wanna make sure that, well, I mean, some people, there's different trains of thoughts. In my opinion, you should have a transaction coordinator, because really, if you're doing this at scale and you don't have a transaction coordinator, I honestly feel sorry for you. You must hate yourself to a certain extent, because that's crazy. I would not want to do that. Transaction coordinators save me day in and day out, because I don't know about you, I am not a huge fan of all the administrative work and paperwork that goes into this closing process. That is once you lock up the contract to when it closes, there is so much paperwork and so much deadlines that need to be met. It's so nice to have a TC on your side, a transaction coordinator. That's a huge impact. Now, second, buyer engagement. You want to make sure that you are keeping your buyers engaged throughout the process. One, you don't want them to flake out on you. So it's important that really you should be having them fund a non-refundable earnest money deposit on that contract. One, it helps keep them from flaking. I mean, still some are willing to just lose that EMD, but it's less likely for them to flake on you if you've got a non-refundable EMD from them received. Also, if you're working with one of these transactional lenders for your EMD, it's likely going to be one of the requirements that, hey, you need to have the buyer's non-refundable EMD in place before the end of the inspection period. Super important. So buyer engagement, that's really important. And lastly, closing confirmation. And this is a big one, because no matter the title company, before you close, you're going to get a settlement statement. And some people call it a HUD, settlement statement, but it's going to give you all the numbers, who owes what. It's going to have your assignment fee on there, so on, what have you. But I've never, ever had a title company actually get it right. So it's always something that you get it like easily nine times out of 10. I've never had it right. I don't know anybody that's had it right the first time they send it out to you. I think it's just like a funny joke that they play. It's crazy. But the settlement statement, you want to go through and make sure, like, am I getting the appropriate assignment fee? Are all the credits and debits correct for the seller, myself, and the end buyer? Is everything jiving? Again, this is another point where it really helps to have a TC on your side. And another thing, guys, on your closing day, you want to make sure by the time you get to close the escrow, even if you have a TC in place, really you want to make sure that you yourself or someone who has the authority that you should be available on that closing day, just in case something does happen. That way you can address it right then and there and potentially save the deal that could have went completely south. Now, at this point, you might be thinking, this all sounds great, but it still seems like there's a lot involved here. And guess what? You're right. I mean, wholesaling can be a lot to juggle. In finding deals, you're securing buyers, you're handling funds, navigating contracts, making sure everything actually goes according to plan so you can close on that property and actually make your money. But here's the truth. You don't have to do this alone, guys, because in reality, you can take care of two of these things right off the bat. You can wipe two of them easily right off your plate. So let me explain. So number one, you can JV. So JV will get you taken care of on the finding buyer side. Granted, it's nice to have something in your back pocket, but if you JV with an experienced dispo team, instead of spending weeks hunting for cash buyers, imagine this. You lock up a great deal, you hand it off to a dispo team that already has buyers lined up. They handle everything, marketing, negotiations, closing, and you just get paid without the hassle. Wouldn't that be nice? So no more scrambling at the last minute to find buyers, so on and so forth. I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty phenomenal. So you find an experienced dispo team, that's huge. As a matter of fact, I've got a wholesaler friend down in Florida where he works off this exact same model, where he purely focuses fully on the acquisition side. He has some buyers, not many, but then he JVs every single time with an experienced dispo team that is constantly finding the buyers for his deals. That just completely eliminates that side, because it really is. It's two separate jobs. They're two separate beasts. So if you can take that off your plate, that's a huge uplift. So take finding buyers off, that's huge. So that's a big one. The second thing you can take off your plate is you never have to worry about funds again. You can take this funding off your plate very easily, guys. So let's scratch that off. As mentioned, one of the biggest killers to wholesale deals is a lack of funding. So you find a deal, but then the seller wants to larger EMD, or your assignment fee is too significant and you're going to get edged out of the deal, or maybe the seller won't sign unless you have a proof of funds. There's a lot of these ors that keep on compounding because you don't have funding. Here's the thing. Instead of searching for a new funding partner every single time, you can have one reliable funding source that covers all your deals. So here's what I can do for you. So I can fund every wholesale deal that you send my way for as far as transactional funding goes, your EMD, your double closes. We deal with seller carryback deals. So if you're familiar with like the Morgan method, that is something we also provide funding for. And to that end, we can also help you structure deals. I mean, if you can't fit it within the traditional wholesale box where it's going to an end cash buyer, there may be a way to salvage that deal so you can still help that seller out by doing more of a creative type transaction. I can help you structure that. So that's another option we can provide. And also, if I'm involved in one of your deals and the funding which I can provide the proof of funds for that for your offers to make sure that they are taken more seriously. So in other words, you're never going to miss out on a deal again just because you don't have funding or the right structure in place. So that's awesome, guys, because bottom line, you've got to wholesale smarter, not harder. Most wholesalers struggle because they try to do everything at it alone, and that's not smart. This is a team sport. And instead of going at the team sport mentality, what do? They stress over finding buyers, they scramble to find funding at the last minute, and then they lose deals because they don't have the right support. Don't do that. There's no reason to do that. Again, you take these major two items off your plate, that is such a huge amount that's going off your plate in this entire transaction where it's going to help greatly. And again, that doesn't have to be the reality, guys, because guess what? When you have a completely separate dispo team that is finding your buyers for you, then you also have a funding partner that can fund all of your deals, not just one. I mean, you're not going to have to go back and forth. We can fund up to a very substantial amount of money, and our systems are locked in. They are very smooth. They are very streamlined. So you have a funding partner and you don't have to go search for one when you're like last minute. That's huge. And the resource to lean on for structuring your deals when the traditional route won't work. Again, we can help you with that. Wholesaling at this point, I mean, it becomes easy, it's predictable, and it's scalable because you just knocked out two of your major heavy workloads just out of the equation. That's huge. And it's scalable because you're never going to have to find a funding partner again from that side. You're never really not going to have to find a buyer again. That to a wholesale operation is just huge. And you can keep your dollars instead from the funding. Like if your internal dollars, you can keep that where they belong on the marketing and furthering your acquisitions so you can scale again that 5+ and even far and beyond deals per month. So if you're ready to eliminate the stress of finding buyers and funding your deals, let's connect, guys. I mean, I'd love to see if we're a good fit. One thing's for sure, with us, you're not going to have a lack of funding. We can fund all your transactional needs and help you structure deals to make sure you are making the maximum of your profit in each situation. So what do you guys say? Because wholesaling, really your time is best utilized on this acquisition side, guys. It's not best utilized chasing buyers or scrambling for funding last minute all the time. So let's get you to the next level. Drop a comment or reach out and let's see where we can provide some value for y'all. With that, guys, thank you for tuning in, and please like and subscribe if you want to see more of this content. See ya.